Hello folks, good morning. Today we're writing another dramatic scene. Not a rape this time, but a suicide attempt. Good thing writers aren't allowed to only have one of these scenes in their whole career, because, well, my stories tend to cover similar ground at times. White and dead. Ghostly waif from her eyes were white and blind looking. Dr. Wonder supposed she didn't look from a horror novel. She didn't look like most ghosts you ever heard of. Most ghosts that Wonder read about look like... Is a package coming? Unbelievable. There was no rush. No rush, folks. I don't need that breakfast sausage at 12 p.m. You don't have to rush, smash through cars. We gotta deliver this fast. People speed around like they're trying to rescue the president or something. Even in this sleepy part of the country, I can't imagine what it's like in California. Everyone's speeding around like the apocalypse is right behind them. It looks like living people. Brand looked pretty dead. Almost rotted. At least she didn't smell like a dead person. Yeah, there's a truck coming. Alright, that's just a car. I always miss when our neighbors are doing something interesting. Let's see. Just let me jump. Brant said to Dr. Wonder, who appeared on the roof, but about roof at the entrance. There's at the trapdoor that led to it. Wonder climbed free and stood there, looking a bit like death herself, like a feminine personification of death. With her long black hair, wild black hair, pale white skin, and black suit and tie. And there's a lot of girls in these stories in the kind of, I don't know. When was women wearing ties and suit coats a thing? I think I saw a bit of that like 100 years ago in some fashion stuff, but not so much these days. I don't think women, well, military uniforms, yeah, they wear, military uniforms have ties kind of like that. You know, dress shirt, tie. Probably a lot of other things that I'm forgetting. Listen, tie. She walked calmly toward Brant. As your chief, sir, stay back. Brant yelled. Woodrow Wonder continued her march with a blank, hard to read expression. I can't allow that, Wonder said. As your chief servant, as someone who worships you, I can't allow you to end your own life. Brant chuckled a little then. She must have looked fearsome, laughed cackling. cackling mole looking like some corpse that had risen from the grave. Do I really look like something worthy of worship? Brant asked rhetorically. No. Wait, no, that's not how she's supposed to reply. You are a goddess, the god of war. Wagner replied. I'm only second guessing my plot decision now. Like if I'm taking the social justice warrior route, and I don't want that. I want to take the route creativity, the hard decision. A lot of social justice warrior stuff isn't hard writing. They resolve their stories with talking usually. And while that's the proper way to do it in the real world, it's not very exciting way to conclude a story. It's the easy way to conclude a story. The hard way to conclude is to have a frickin' battle. A battle to the death. See, I'm of the video game generation. In the video games, when you faced the villain, you didn't talk him down. You dueled him to the death. Sometimes with his minions, sometimes on his own. But either way, you had to kill him to win the game. And that was the way it should be. Let's see, you are the god of war. I worship the god of war. I can't have you die. We already lost the god of war. Already lost too many war gods in the last couple of years. One, as far as Brant knew. Brant shook her head. I don't want to be a god, Brant said. I didn't ask for any of this. This feels more like a punishment. Why should I endure a punishment? Why should I just live? Should I just live like this? Punishment. I am certain I'm being punished by Hera, the queen of the gods, most likely. Wagner replied. Hera was a very vengeful, spiteful goddess. There were many myths of her inflicting terrible suffering on those she believed wronged her. Yep, Hera was well known for her jealousy, folks. Especially in, well, Greek mythology. She didn't really like Hercules that much. She didn't like any of the children that Zeus had with mortal women, all those demigods from history besides Hercules. Zeus was pretty infamous for getting around a lot. It's one thing I didn't like too much about Greek mythology when I was a kid. Too much sex stuff, and that stuff didn't interest me. I preferred stories free of sex. I guess I was kind of a Puritan when I was little. I thought sex kind of blubs a story up. Blubs? I'm not sure. Messes with it. It taints it. Like how capitalism taints art. That kind of taint. Like she believed wronged her. That's why not fan service, fan fiction is like some of the purest writing you can have, folks, because it's written purely to celebrate the fiction in question. It's not like there's no interest in profit. In fact, it's anti-profit, pretty much. But I'm babbling here. Let's see. I wronged her. And Grant had killed Mars, her son. Grant had no idea if it was her only son. I should check. Only son? No. Hera got around too, I'm pretty sure. She had a lot of children of her own. I'm not sure if she had children with any mortal men, but I've never heard about that in myths. A goddess having children with mortal men. That would probably happen, and I'm just an ignorant swine. Being an ignorant swine isn't so bad, folks. Grant had no idea if it was her only son. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. A person was still vengeful if you killed their son. Even if a person had a dozen sons, killing one of them would still be upset. There. When someone killed your son, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter if you had a dozen others. A dozen others. When someone killed your son, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. So when someone killed your son, it didn't matter if you had a dozen others. When someone killed your son, it didn't matter if you had a dozen others. Yeah, I guess that'll do. This is not how your story is supposed to end, Hilda Brandt, Wonder said. Brandt smiled lightly. Smiled in a way that would have been pretty if she didn't look like a ghoul. So you then tell me seeing the future was one of your abilities? Brandt said. It isn't, Wonder replied, briefly considering how powerful it would be if she could just see 5 minutes into the future. I decide how my story ends, Brandt muttered. This is not how your destiny is not to jump off a clock tower and die, Wonder replied, some emotion in her voice at last. Did I imply there was emotion earlier? Anger's an emotion. I feel it. Sometimes, man anger. I don't know. I can only speak for myself. Like, man anger. That's the kind of anger that makes you want to grab something and break it. I don't know if girls have that anger. Sometimes they do. But usually I see that in fiction, not in real life. Like, going wrong by a man in a book, like, picks up something and whacks him in the head. That does happen in real life, too. I mean, we've had plenty of stories of women breaking their husband's head open with a frying pan, and she put up too much of a swing and annoyed her or something. I'm not saying it was justified in all those cases, but yeah. If it was abusive, if there was a matter of abuse, I probably would side with the woman. Probably. Yeah. No, I would. I would. Most definitely. I mean, I think most people are today wouldn't side with a man if he was the abuser in a situation. And those that would, those that would side, maybe that's a little worrying there. Like sticking up for him just because he's guilty of that? I don't know. Some emotion in her voice at last. I'll get back to the book, damn it. Let's see. It's this energy drink I took. It made me into a rambling fool. You have important tasks to do. I see, Brand muttered, crossing her arms. She started toward Wonder then, and they were now about 3 meters apart. 3 meters apart. I suppose I should tell you that it wouldn't make a difference, Wonder said. What wouldn't make a difference? Grant asked, jumping from the roof. The roof. Wonder replied. You wouldn't actually die from it. Your powers inside your body, though locked away. No powers in human form. Though locked away. Would keep you alive. And even if you cracked your head open and then broke every bone. You're bluffing, Grant said. I was indestructible. Must be your brains rotting. I was indestructible. Does she smell of rot? Say she smelled the grave, but that's not accurate. She's not buried. Only things that are buried and come out of the ground should be called stinking of the grave. Like them zombies from Return of the Living Dead. I think those would have been very, very smelly, those people. Those zombies. If I was there, I probably would have been puking from the stench. People coming out of the ground all rotting and ugh. The only thing worse would be one of those creatures. I don't know why there's so many people who want to be a vampire or a zombie. That's just so much worse than being a living person. It can be sometimes painful enough to be a living person, for God's sakes. If I was indestructible, I wouldn't need you or any bodyguards. True, Wonder replied. Do you really want to go through all that suffering anyway? Suffering for nothing? The body will heal eventually. Even if your head gets split down the middle, with brain coming out. Do you want to be alive in that condition? I saw one of those things I wish you could forget, a picture of a girl who died like that. She jumped out a window or something. Her head was split down the middle, open. She landed directly on the ground. It's just, oh. Yeah, that's what I'm picturing right now. Yeah, even when I saw that picture, I thought, what if she was alive in that condition and could think and such? Oh. Yeah, that would be a pain that nobody should have to endure. No, Grant admitted, after pondering it for about a minute. Wonder was now right in front of Grant, staring at her. Wonder was a bit taller than Grant at the moment, thanks to her wearing shoes while Grant was barefoot. Grant supposed Wonder could now late at night. Could now cast some spell and zap her, knock her, cart her off to some cell where she could undergo her transformation without any risks of escape. Does she talk like a snake when she's in lizard form? I've seen that in stories, even though that doesn't make any sense. At least she doesn't turn into a snake. That'd be a terrible fate. Even if you turn into a giant cool snake, I think. Wanda just reached out and hugged Grant. Grant hugged her back in reply. She felt like crying, but didn't. Let's get you where you need to be, Wonder suggested. Someday, this will just be some bad time in your life. You have many years ahead of you. Okay. Grant sniffed. Back to the present. Back to Liverpool. There we go. What time is it? 35 p.m. Let's check if that's right. Is 10:35 late at night? Yeah, I suppose so. Usually I'm watching a TV show at that time. Then at 12 I go to bed. Anyway, let's see. Have a nice day, folks. Good night.